Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of the resume website tutorial series on Turbo 360. In part 1 we set up the project, we scaffolded it, imported the theme, and made sure everything works the same on the staging environment as well as the local environment, which it does. So that's good. So in this part we're going to continue the process by carving up the theme into more modular pieces so that the project is more organized, and then we're going to begin the customization process of getting these parts into looking the way you want for your own resume or portfolio. So let's go ahead and continue. So in our terminal, in the root directory of the project, I'm going to run the dev server. And I already have it loaded here, but I'm just going to reload to make sure everything still works, which it does. So everything looks good. This is the theme pretty much as is, it's untouched. So we're now going to dive into this in the code and start carving it up and making it more modular and customized for our own purpose. So if you open the project in your text editor, here's what we have so far. We actually don't want this DS store, so if you see that, get rid of it. We're going to open up the views and the index mustache, which is our home page, of course, and we're going to start subdividing this into partials so that when we create more pages, we don't have the same code over and over again. We can just reuse the partials instead. If you don't know what that means, it'll make more sense. Once we start doing it, it'll be easier to understand when you actually see it in person. So we already have a partials directory with a head partial already in there. This came with the original scaffold, so we're not going to use that. Instead, we're going to go back to the index.mustache and remove the contents of the head tag from here, just cut it, and then we're going to paste that into the head partial so that when we go back to the index mustache, we can use the partial instead by using this little caret notation, and that comes with the mustache templating engine. So here we've converted the head tag into a partial, which we can then reuse in any other page that we want to. So the idea behind that is whenever you have a section of a page that shows up in every page on the website, that should really be its own partial. That's what we're going to do in the first part of this video today. So let's go ahead and run the dev server again and make sure that that didn't break anything. The actual template on the browser should look the same, which it does, and that's great. So that worked. So let's go ahead and continue that process. So if we scroll down some more, you will see that there is a sidebar here, and that corresponds with this left part section. See the about, home, about services portfolio, home, about services portfolio. So that should be a sidebar, right? So that's going to show up on every page, right? So what we want to do is convert that into a partial. So cd to the views directory, and then the partials directory, and let's create a sidebar.mustache file, which will be our partial for that section. So make sure you cd back to the root directory so we can run the server from there. And then going back to the code, the actual sidebar is this left part code, so we can just grab all of that, cut it, and then paste it into the sidebar mustache file, and then we can insert the sidebar partial. If we actually just leave that out for now, we can make sure that it's successfully removed. So we can run the dev server, and then if we reload the dev server, that sidebar should be gone, hopefully, which it is. So we can just use the partial instead and then reload the home page, and the sidebar should be back, and it is. So that's good. If we keep on scrolling down to the bottom, another very common partial is down here, which is the footer. And of course, this should also show up on every page. So we should convert that into a partial as well. So go back to your terminal, turn off the server, cd to the views, and then the partials directory, and then let's create a footer.mustache file, and then go back to the root level. And then let's go down to our index.mustache, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and then we have our contact and footer section. So we just copy that, just remove that, and then head over to the footer.mustache in the partial, and then going back to the index.mustache, just insert the partial so that we can cut out some big chunks of code and make the home page a little bit more easy to navigate. And then test it on the dev server and make sure everything still looks the way it does, the way it did before, which is good. I'm going to do a couple more things down here. This little scroll to the top button, I was never a big fan of that, so let's get rid of that. That's this guy right here. Obviously you can keep it if you want to, but I'm just going to stick to my preference here. And this little sidebar thing, I don't want that there either. I want to keep the sidebar on the page all the time. So open up your sidebar mustache file, and down here is where that toggle button is. So we can reload the page and that should be gone as well. That's good. And there's a couple more partials we should create. Let's go back to our index.mustache. So that would be right here. And then you'll see that there's a preloader as well as a mobile menu. And both of these are going to be on every page of the website. So let's create another partial for that. So let's go to the views directory and then into the partials folder. And let's create a mobile menu partial. And then don't forget to go back to the root directory. And then let's grab the mobile menu. And I'm going to cheat a little bit too. I'm going to grab that preloader as well as this, well, really whatever this is, but let's grab that too. And then let's put all of that inside the mobile menu. And then head back to our index mustache. And let's use the mobile menu partial instead of all of that code that was there before. So we can do turbo dev server now. And reload the home page. Everything still looks the same, but that was a mobile menu we had before, right? So if we collapse the page, now we have our mobile menu from before, and everything still looks the same. So it looks good. Great. So our partials have been successfully integrated into this home page, which makes the remaining contents of the home page pretty much specific to that page. So again, the idea is that every time you use a partial, for example, this mobile menu or the sidebar, what that essentially means is that that section will show up on every page of this website. So that's the idea there. It makes the whole thing more modular, much easier to make changes. So if you want to change the sidebar, if you want to remove some elements, you do it in one file instead of however many pages you have on the site. It saves a lot of time, saves a lot of headache. So that's great. That's going to be it for now. We're going to make a few more minor adjustments, by the way, so that's not entirely it. We're going to change these into relative file paths. It's not really important. Well, it's not crucial, but it's a good. They should be relative file paths instead of absolute file paths. Go back to the head mustache partial and do the same thing here inside for the CSS imports. This will make no real difference right now, but it'll save some headache down the road. So I'm just being preemptive about that. And the last thing we're going to do is we are going to deploy it again. So really we should end every video with a deploy again, just to make sure everything works the same on a staging environment as it does on the local environment, so that we can be confident that what we're doing is eventually going to be how it shows up for the end user. Obviously, that's the ultimate goal. So I'm doing a quick turbo deploy. This usually takes about a minute. And when that's done, we're going to check our staging environment and just confirm that everything over there looks the same. All right, let's give it a spin. So here is our staging environment URL. So you just highlight that and copy and paste that into the browser. And let's see how it looks on staging. Great, everything looks the same. And, well, I'm not really sure why these tiles don't line up. Ultimately, we'll change these anyway, but I'm not really sure why that's not lining up the same. But take care of that later, I guess. And everything else looks good. Okay, so we'll figure out that issue with the tiles later as we get to that section when we actually change the site, when we actually change the contents. But for now, the bulk of this has been successfully translated onto staging as well. So hopefully you're seeing the same results. And in the next video, we're going to start the actual customization process. So we'll start making this site customized for your own purposes. So hopefully everything is looking good on your end. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in part 3.